We talked about this yesterday all over social media. Lots of discussion about funding for HBCUs. Associated Press and Newsweek did a story saying that the Biden administration and Democrats were cutting from $45 billion to $2 billion for HBCUs. We now know that's not true. One of the folks who's been trying to correct a lot of these falsehoods about funding for HBCUs, especially over the last 4 years with Donald Trump, is my next guest, Dr. Walter Kimbrough. He's the president of Dillard University, retiring at the end of this year. Dr. Kimbrough, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. This is something that's big because this thing has been spreading like wildfire. People have been saying all sorts of different things. Here you go. Dems don't care about black folks. They're cutting $45 billion. And I had Leslie Baskerville on yesterday from NAFIO. I had on Victor Santos from the Marshall Fund as well, and both of them said it wasn't $45 billion. And so, look, you are an HBCU president. Break down exactly what's going on with HBCU funding in these these budget proposals right now.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Roland. I appreciate having this opportunity. And just remind folks, I'm not retiring. I'm just transitioning. I'm doing the free agent thing. So we see where I end up. But it's been frustrating for me because I think there are some legitimate concerns that we have. But when people get out there and share all of this misinformation, it creates bigger problems. So, and I had a chance to listen to Leslie and Victor. So I thought they provided great information that people can listen to. But what President Biden did was come in and said, I really am going to have a robust proposal for HBCU. So he asked for lots of money. So when you hear the $45 billion figure, and I've seen anywhere from 30 to 50 billion, it's all over the place. But if we look at the $45 billion, so 20 billion of that is straight infrastructure. And as you've mentioned to people, it's HBCUs and MSIs, Hispanic serving, Asian Pacific, Native American. So there will be a portion of that for HBCUs, which will be significant. So 20 billion for that. 15 billion of it is for research and development. So just straight R&D is 15 billion, and then or 10 billion, and then another 15 billion that will be for centers of excellence to create these centers of excellence at HBCUs. And I heard Victor talk about that. So that's where the 45 billion comes from. So the process is for any president, they present their budget priorities to Congress, and then those committees have to do the work. So President Biden started off and said, hey, this is what I want. Also, because this is getting lost too, he also wanted to help double the Pell Grant. And so his first salvo was to get it up $1,800. Okay, so that we aren't even talking about that because that would impact 7 million college students. So you have all that together. It goes to the committee. It's now with the Committee for Education and Labor, which is chaired by Bobby Scott. And now they have to do the work. And so when they go through the process and they're working together, they try to decide how much is Congress willing to spend. And that's when you start to have those cuts and they start to negotiate. So it goes back and forth. They'll have a run at it. The Senate will have a run at it. Then we'll end up with the final figure. So that's how the process works. The process always works like that. But it's hard to even get a number like that on the table if the president doesn't put it out there. Trump never put out big numbers like that. And every time we got an increase is because our friends in Congress said that's unacceptable. And so they added money to it. So that's the point, that we're going through the process like we always do. I think he shocked people because he came up with a huge number. And I think he set the table, which is really good for us. And now we all have to do our work to work with members of Congress and say, look, the president made this promise. Y'all need to help him make that promise come true.
Also, again, we talk about funding. This is what Leslie and Victor discussed yesterday. You can't negate the funding that already came through two previous bills in 2021 already. The COVID bill, what was it, $6 billion? And then there was another billion plus?
Right. So we've gotten over $6 billion in the last 18 months altogether. So you had some toward the end of the Trump administration for COVID. That was about $1 billion. And then you get another 2.6 that's a part of the work that President Biden has done. And then also add that it was approved at the end of 2020. Alma Adams did a lot of work with this as well. We had a number of HBCUs that had debts as a part of the HBCU Capital Finance Program. That was approved in the bill. The new Secretary of Education approved that to be wiped off the books. That's another $1.6 billion. So, yes, we're talking about $5 to $6 billion that HBCUs have received in the last 18 months. And reminding people, every year annually, we only receive about $1 billion from the federal government. And as Victor rightly pointed out, it comes from lots of different buckets. So it's not just Department of Education, it's from agriculture, it's from defense, it's from interior. It comes from a lot of different places. But when you add it all together, it's only about $1 billion. So now we're talking about $6 billion already in 18 months. And in the Biden administration, Corinne Jean-Pierre did an interview with HBCU journalists. She said that's $4 billion of it is from them alone. So it's not like nothing has been done. There has been significant investments in HBCUs. We're now trying to play the long ball to say, how do we get significant investments that will last so we can really do some major infrastructure work, which the entire country has talked about infrastructure. So we're being consistent with what the president has talked about as a part of the campaign trail.
You know, and it's real interesting, Dr. Kimbrough. You know, you always got to deal with these dumbasses out here. Some people don't want to say that. I'll go ahead and say it. I got some idiot on YouTube, Truth Seeker. Roland, how much do the Democrats pay you to do damage control? What the Democrats doing? No, it's called facts. See, this is real simple. If the funding was cut from $45 billion to $2 billion, we're going to tell the truth about what's going on here. The problem is when people are making stuff up. As a journalist, the first thing I said is, White House, is this true? What's the actual proposal? What's the actual number? What's going on here? The problem is you got a bunch of people out here, and again, and let me say it, the Associated Press story that was done, then the Newsweek story was done, were both wrong. I asked the most basic question to Leslie and Victor, and that is, of this so-called $45 billion, the way the story has been framed is it's being cut for HBCUs. Victor says no. That says HBCUs and minority serving institutions. I was blown away when he told me that my alma mater, Texas A&M, qualifies as an Hispanic serving institution. And so in this pot of money, you at Dillard will be going up against Texas A&M for the same pool of money. That's not protecting Democrats. That's called the damn truth.
Right, exactly. And those are the kinds of nuances that we've got to be able to honestly talk about to make sure that does not happen. So you're exactly right. Those are the kinds of concerns that we have. The other thing, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, we've got to have more diversity in terms of journalism because these AP stories are wrong all the time. There was one that a lot of people use to say Trump, saved HBCUs with $250 million a year. No. Out of that 250, it was for HBCUs and Hispanic serving institutions. Only 85 million was for HBCUs. It was a part of the Future Act. But people have posted that story over and over and over again to say, look at what Trump did. They don't talk about how it was already approved by both chambers of Congress with veto-proof majorities. His signature was performative. Or like Alma Adams said, the only thing he contributed was his signature. He didn't do any lobbying for that at all. So it's important for us to have the facts. So then once we have the real facts, then we can debate and say, all right, here's the facts. Now, you're saying that you want to do this and make us compete with all Hispanic serving institutions. The University of Texas at Austin just became an HSI this year, 25% Latino. That's unacceptable. So we can have an honest conversation and debate. But when we start tossing in everything else, it's a problem. The last thing I'll say really quickly is that I'm always interested. These people come out of the woodwork complaining about what's happening for HBCUs, but nobody is advocating for us on a regular basis. The UNCF has created a platform that if you're concerned about this and want to do more than tweet, you go to the platform at uncf.org, /HBCU Ignite. It's really easy. It takes you a minute. You can write your Congress people. You can call them. You can tweet them and say, give HBCUs this money. That's part of the reason that the Future Act got passed, because we had 66,000 letters in 2 months telling Congress we want this Future Act to be passed. Right now, for this new HBCU Ignite, which focuses on infrastructure, we've only had 11,000 people do that so far. So if everybody's tweeting and they're on Twitter and using the Twitter fingers, go to HBCU Ignite as a part of uncf.org and help us lobby for this money.
Simple as that. Dr. Walter Kimbrough, President, Dillard University, represent like alphas always do.
Always.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin unfiltered video in just one moment.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now, she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going?
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to
to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?